Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Donovan, and today we're going to take a look at the Lemfo Lem 7, a pretty fantastic smartwatch that you can pick up right now for under $130. So there it is at banggood.com, so leave a link down in the description if you're interested in checking it out. Now, I say that this is a pretty fantastic smartwatch, however, I will caveat that with it's going to be awesome for some people. For others, it may not be what you're looking for, so just stick around and we'll talk more about what all this thing has to offer here in just a little bit. Now, I do also want to mention that there is an upgraded version of this watch already available. So this one is available for $130, the Lem 7 that I have right down here. There is also the Lem X, so that one's available right now as well. It's been out for about a month. This one's available for $190 and has some pretty significant upgrades over the Lem 7, which I'm going to be reviewing here in just a moment. So we'll talk about those upgrades here in just a moment, but first let's talk about what this thing has to offer. So on the box they have some of the hardware that's available. So we have the MediaTek 6730S7 processor. We have 1 gig of RAM with 16 gigs of internal storage, so that's really awesome. You can store quite a bit of music on there, quite a few apps, because this thing is running a full version of Android 7.0. So you can see that here. Now when you go into it, you're not going to notice that it's really Android 7.0, but it is definitely running Android 7.0 with a pretty heavy watch skin over top of that. So it does take a nano SIM card, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you real quick since I have it up here. You can see right now that it does support T-Mobile for 4G, also AT&T as well. The Lem X actually has more bands that it supports, so that's something worth mentioning here. So you'll probably get slightly better service if you are on AT&T or T-Mobile, at least in the US, because you can see here that this one supports quite a few bands, and one of them in specific being band 12, which is going to be an important one if you live in the US. But let's go ahead and keep moving on. So you can see the bands that it supports here. We have an AMOLED 1.39-inch display, 400 by 400 pixel density, and that is a pretty big upgrade with the Lem X. That one actually has a 2.03-inch display, and basically the difference being there, you can see this one has some pretty significant bezels around the outside, whereas the Lem X almost has no bezel at all. So just as a quick comparison, here is my TicWatch Pro. Same size screen, but you can see this one has a metal bezel going around it. And then here is my Samsung Galaxy Watch, so same size screen as the Lem 7 here. But again, this one has a pretty significant bezel, whereas with, again, the Lem X, there is no bezel on the watch. That one also is IP67 water resistant, whereas this one has no water resistance at all. And that's because that SIM card slot right here is pretty much exposed. There's no real waterproofing there, so just something to keep in mind. We'll take a look more at the build in just a little bit. So this one has a 2 megapixel camera, whereas the Lem X has 8 megapixel camera. Bluetooth 4.0, you can see the Wi-Fi, it supports B, G, and N. It does have GPS, but I will note that it does not have GLONASS, it does not have Baidu, so it's just using a single GPS, so just regular GPS. So that means it's not going to get as good a GPS as something like a watch that supports multiple bands of GPS. So same thing here with the Galaxy Watch. The Apple Watch Series 4 also supports multiple bands, whereas this one's only getting just GPS. So it does have a heart rate monitor, pedometer, and a 500 milliamp hour battery. And again, the Lem X has a significantly larger 900 milliamp hour battery. So quite a few upgrades with the Lem X, but obviously you're going to spend a little bit more for it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the watch itself. So first thing I want to point out is just the software. So again, this is running Android 7.0, and that means that you can of course get the Google Play Store, which it comes with, and that means you can add in plenty of apps if you want. So I added in, I believe, Google Play Music. I don't think that came on it. I added Spotify, so I can go in here and listen to some Spotify if I want. So there is a microphone right down here for phone calls, and then there is a speaker, which is really hard to see, but it's right down here in the band. These bands are not removable, whereas on the Lem X they are available, or are removable, I should say. So I can come in here, this is my Spotify, and let's see, go ahead and listen to some Charlie Puth. So very very, very small speaker, especially if you're wearing this on your wrist. Your wrist is going to be blocking that speaker just a little bit because, again, it's right down here. So it's not particularly great, in my opinion, for phone calls, but of course you can use it that way. This button right here is going to be the back button. It is also going to do some other functions as well that we'll take a look at in just a little bit. But as far as apps that it comes with, it does come with Google Maps, comes with the Play Store. Of course, you can go into the Play Store, so let's go in here. And you can download games, so if you want to play some games on your watch or whatever. Basically, it's the full Google Play Store. Now, I will mention that there are some apps that don't work, some important ones that I would hope would work, but they don't work, like Strava. Does not work on this watch. Some other fitness type apps that I wanted it to work with, unfortunately would not work. So we'll talk more about that in just a little bit in terms of the fitness aspects. But I'm going to go ahead and hit back, go out of that. So we have a voice search, we have weather, we have fitness. We'll take a look at that fitness in just a little bit. Again, we have a heart rate monitor. Now the heart rate monitor will work automatically when you're using the fitness app. But otherwise it's just going to be, it doesn't have like an all-day heart rate monitor because you'd see that on right now if it did. So it's just going to work while you're actually either in this app or you're in the fitness app doing an actual activity. We have a file manager, sound recorder. This is where you can store some music. Of course, you can get a streaming music service as well. We have a gallery because of course there's a camera here, and there's the camera app. 2 megapixel, by the way, so not a super high resolution. We got clock, we got calendar. The calendar is actually just literally just a calendar, so just something to point out. It's not like a legitimate calendar. We have downloads, we have browser, so you can literally browse the internet on this watch because of course it is Android 7.0 and it does have 4G. We have our text messages, our phone calls, and then our contacts. So you can actually just make a phone call on here, and it does work kind of well. The person on the other end will hear you through that microphone, but again, it's kind of hard to hear them unless you have Bluetooth headphones in because of where the speaker is located down there. All right, so now let's go into fitness here. One of the things I want to mention here is that in comparison to any of these other watches, you would think for $130 maybe you're getting like a steal for this watch because of what it supports. Of course it supports Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you can get in terms of Android. But unfortunately, in terms of fitness aspects, that's where this watch is definitely very weak. So you notice that it has outdoor run, outdoor walk, indoor run, things like that. So all the kind of like typical kind of activities you would want it to have. And you can track all those. The problem is, let's say, you would think up here like with, for instance, riding bike. You would think that that would use the GPS because it has GPS built into it, but it doesn't actually use the GPS. All it does is it's using the pedometer, and then it's also using the heart rate sensor, and that's going to detect your distance with the pedometer, and then your heart rate, of course, is going to track your calories burned and your heart rate. That's it. There is no GPS being utilized by this fitness app, which is really, really strange, and hopefully that is something that is fixed in future iterations of this watch, because if you have GPS, why not utilize it in a fitness app? Just makes sense, right? But they don't utilize it. So I wouldn't get this if you're somebody who's fitness minded. You definitely want to pick up a little bit more expensive watch, or you can get something like an Amazfit watch because those are great fitness watches. So fitness people, beware. So I will mention, of course, I tried using Strava, so I thought, well, maybe I'll fix it with Strava, or Google Fit, or Endomondo, Ghost Racer. Those are all apps I've used in the past. Runkeeper. None of them really work with this watch, so just as a heads up. But Apple Music, of course, works. Spotify works. So if you want to play some games on it, all those things are available here. All right, so a couple other things I want to mention in terms of the software. So you can see here are some apps that we can go into. So if I hold down this button right here, that's going to take us into a power off, reboot, recent task menu, and then we can cancel. But this right here is going to switch it from a square to a circle face. So notice now I have my Google Play Store in a circular fashion, I guess. But it does cut off part of the screen, so that means part of the screen is not going to be utilized. So if you want to be able to get into pieces of the screen that you can't see there, you'll have to go into the square, which is why I kind of just keep it there. Because then you can actually see the entire screen. All right, so let's go out of that. And let's just kind of go through the watch now. So this is the main watch face, or this is one of the watch faces. So to change your watch face, you're just going to hold down and scroll through. You can see there's tons of watch faces available here, so some more classic looking ones, and then like I had over here, I had the more sporty looking ones, so these would be for if you want to track your steps, your heart rate, battery percentage, and things like that. So plenty of watch faces available, and then there's also of course more, so they have that plus button that's going to take you to even more watch faces. So go back here. If I scroll over to the left, this is going to take me into my notifications. So of course, if you have things like Facebook and Twitter on here, you can get them from your phone to the watch, but then also you can get them directly to the watch. So right now it's not even connected to my phone, so I can get all of those. If I had Twitter on here, I could get all my Twitter notifications on there if I wanted. And then if I go up from the top, so pull from the top, you can see it's going to take you to, if it's connected to Bluetooth from a phone, that would be yellow. Then you can see my 4G service here. Also, it does show the battery there. And then we have some quick shortcuts here. So this one's going to, what does that one do? So that's going to turn quiet mode on. We have brightness here, so I can adjust the brightness with that one. This one's going to do your hand gesture, so that's going to, if you flip it up, it's going to turn the screen on, so that's going to be on or off. We have airplane mode, we have this one's going to be your 3G, 4G service, GPS, Bluetooth, and then Wi-Fi. Then we have just a clean, that's going to clean up your apps. That's cool. And then we have music player. So right now, of course, I'm not playing any music, so it's not going to replay it. But if I had Spotify loaded up, it would just bring it back up, because I just cleaned out all the apps. It doesn't have Spotify loaded up, so that's not going to work right now. But I can adjust the volume here as well. And then it's going to show me my my weather up here as well. All right, so if I scroll from the bottom, it's going to go into the health aspects. And we can adjust some things here. Now, this isn't actually accurate of me, because I didn't even bother adjusting it, because again, this doesn't really use GPS. It's just going off of a pedometer, so the pedometer works fine, but there's nowhere to change it to miles. So if you live in the United States and you want miles, can't do it. And then we got some calories burned based off of the pedometer and your heart rate, but really in this case it's just going off of the pedometer. And then if we go to the right, we have our apps, and then one more time to the right, we have some shortcuts to some of those same workouts that we had over here in that fitness app. And that's pretty much it. In terms of battery life, you can see just in the time that I've been using it for this video, it's gone down 12%. So it's going down really fast. And that's because I'm using GPS, and so I have GPS, I have the 3G, 4G service on, I have that screen on the whole time, Bluetooth is always on, so it's going to eat through battery really fast like that. However, let's say I went ahead and put on airplane mode, because most of the day you don't need those things, especially if you have it connected up to your phone and you're just getting notifications to it. You could easily get, so just as a quick heads up, so I started out this morning with this watch at 100% and went through my whole day and only burned 10%, but that was with airplane mode on. So with airplane mode on, of course, I'm not using the 3G, 4G service. I had it just connected up to my phone, but I didn't really want notifications while I was at work, so I just turned it on airplane mode, and during that time it actually went through less than 10%. But in just the time of this video, you can see that I've burned up a lot of battery. So the battery life is really going to depend on how you're using it. If you're using it heavily with 4G service, obviously you're going to burn through that battery super fast, and you won't even get through a full day of use with this watch. But if you're using it primarily as just like a watch, and then every once in a while you want your notifications and you just have it connected up to your phone for notifications, then in that case you're going to be able to get through a full day with no problem. And we probably won't get through 2 days, but you can definitely get through 1 day, so that's not bad. Certainly not as good as some of these other watches, but probably comparable to the Apple Watch Series 4 in terms of battery life. But anyways, a quick look at the Lemfo Lem 7. Again, there is the upgraded version, the Lem X, available as well right now, so links will be down in the description for both of them. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.